In this video, we'll factor binomials. And in this case, we're going to look at using the difference of two squares formula that we can factor binomials with that fit that pattern. Recall that the difference of two squares tells us that if we have a squared minus b squared, that's equal to the product of a minus b times a plus b. So let's look at how this applies. This first binomial we have is 4t squared minus 81. And if we look at that, 4t squared is a perfect square, and so is 81. And so if we think about what did we square to get 4t squared, we can break this down and realize that we had 2t quantity squared minus 9 squared. And so when we factor this, it's going to factor into, we'll have 2t minus 9 and 2t plus 9. And if we go, so that is it. That is the expression fully factored, 2t minus 9 times 2t plus 9. And if we go and we check, we'll see why this works out. So 2t minus 9 and 2t plus 9. When we FOIL that, we'll get 2t quantity squared, which was our 4t squared that we started with. And then our outside terms, we'd get plus 18t minus 18t minus 81. And indeed, we can see that that's 4t squared minus 81. Looking at our second example, we have 3x squared minus 75. Now, as a binomial, this doesn't fit the difference of two squares immediately, but as a general practice, we always look for the greatest common factor before applying any other factoring techniques. And in this case, with 3x squared minus 75, we can factor out that common factor of 3 from each of those terms. So we'll have 3 times x squared minus 25. Now at this point, we want to see if we can factor any further. And x squared minus 25 fits that pattern for the difference of two squares. So that will be 3 on the outside still, and now I'm going to break x squared minus 25 down, and it'll be x minus 5 times x plus 5. And again, if I want to, I can check this. It's fully factored at this point. I have 3 times the expression x minus 5 times the expression x plus 5. What I want to do is check if that by multiplication to see if that factoring was correct. And generally, when I multiply this, I'll multiply the x minus 5 times x plus 5 first. And so I'd get x squared, I'd have 3 on the outside still, and then x squared plus 5x minus 5x minus 25. And that plus 5x minus 5x will equal 0. So I'll have 3 times the expression x squared minus 25. And distributing that 3, I'll see that I get 3x squared minus 75. So I did factor that correctly.